welcome to another episode of the video series Empowering Stories to Inspire Change, where we share amazing stories of ordinary people like you and me with extraordinary stories. And today we are featuring Grete Christoffersen. Do I pronounce your name right?
You do, yes you do.
Excellent.
That's
welcome.
Right.
It's such a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure being here.
Excellent, excellent. So could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
My name is Grete. I'm Norwegian. Been living for quite a few years abroad, actually mainly in France, but also in Africa, where I grew up. And I've been going longer to French school, so that obviously is something that has been with me for my whole life, and that goes with me. So no, French people used to say that I'm French, and for Norwegian people, I'm Norwegian. I used to say that my world, the world in general, is a little bit where I live.
Oh, that's lovely.
So yeah, so it's I've got that background, and I'm a trained economist. I've got a master's degree in HR. And with that, I've been working in the oil industry internationally for quite a few years. And then I've been working as a CEO in a relocation company and working quite a lot with international people in that sense as well. And I trained afterwards. I've been working as a consultant on my own account for 10 years. And I also trained as a family therapist and been working with Lean and focusing really on how to make processes smooth, and especially leadership smooth into the companies in order to make it work and to create results.
Impressive, impressive. That's great. Oh, I love your international background because I'm always joking that the world is my playground, as my clients are everywhere around the globe.
Absolutely.
And I love that. You know, I'm a global citizen. I'm not necessarily Dutch or European. I'm a global citizen, and I love that about you. So that's great.
That's nice.
I'm really curious to hear about your story, obviously. Could you tell us a bit about what happened? What did your life look like before your pivotal moment, before your transformational moment?
Well, my life looked pretty much normal, I would say. I had been living in France for quite a few years. We had just moved back to Norway, and my career was really going upwards. I had been promoted. I was having quite a big job, and the plan was actually to go abroad. I probably had a little bit of a boring life in that sense. And that's probably, I used to say that all these changes that we get in life are gifts. And I don't think that without that gift, that was a really tough gift, but without that gift, I would probably not have changed my course. So I would have been in the same A4 life, as I'm saying, as I was then, getting up in the morning, going to work, dealing with everything happening there, and coming home and raising kids, and then not having a real special life, actually. It's just like everybody else.
But
so
were you happy?
Sorry,
were you happy at the time?
I was happy, but I probably didn't have that total scale of happiness. And that is a big change that I discovered when all this happened, that happiness is enjoying every moment in life, that I'm much more able to live now than I used to be at that point of time. So I didn't appreciate life in the same way, and then you can't be as happy as you can.
Oh, okay. So what happened? What was your transformational moment?
So I was actually a mom of a boy. He was 5 years at the time, and I was pregnant with our second baby. And Thea died actually in my womb. I was 8 months pregnant, and it's a tough story for a woman to take. I had a natural birth, well knowing that she was dead. So it's probably the toughest. It was a long birth, 17 hours. And it's for women, it's a tough thing. You're knowing that you're in labor for nothing, basically.
Yeah. Oh,
and
I'm
I
so
was
sorry to hear that.
Just at that point of time, and saying to the doctors that this is a birth like anyone else. And I really want to know that they probably suggested that I could have all kinds of stuff to just get me out of there kind of thing. And I was really conscious of saying that, no, I want to be conscious because this is really what life is about. Wow. And I remember that when we went out of there, I stayed in the hospital for 5 days afterwards. And we had, when I went out of there, I met a lady and I came out with some flowers, and she was looking at me and said, "Oh, you got so lovely flowers, lucky you." And I just started crying, and I looked at my husband at that time and I said, I really don't want any flowers. I want my baby back.
Yeah, of course. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I can imagine, you know, whenever you tell this story to especially women, to mothers, it's a tough story. It's so tough.
It is a tough story, and it's for sure when you're pregnant 8 months, everybody have seen you pregnant. So my son, and that's one of the learning points, and I think that was the first learning point I had in the hospital. It was when my son came to the hospital, and he had been looking forward to becoming a big brother. Yeah. I was really happy, and he came into the room knowing that Thea was dead. And he just took his small sister in the arms, and it was just playing with her as if she was completely alive, and you could see his proudness in his face.
Really? Wow.
And it was absolutely a stunning moment, and we got this lovely picture of him sitting like that. And after 1 hour, he was really sitting cuddling her for an hour, and then he just looked at me and he said, "Mom, you can take Thea. I've had enough. I want to go home and have a look at Nemo." And that really taught me, he gave me a really good lesson at that moment in life. Because life, even though you're down in the deepest valleys, you can still enjoy life. And kids are extremely good in going into those sad moments and going out of them and having joy still, even if they're sad.
Yeah.
And that was a very good learning. That was just a couple of hours after Thea was born. So it was really a good learning point for me that even though I am in all this sorrow, I'm allowed to be happy at some moments. So I took that with me actually when we came out of the hospital, and we had a lovely funeral for Thea. There was a lot of people, and it was really touching. And then that knowledge that I brought with me from that moment in being allowed to be happy still when you're in sorrow, that's something that brought me through the whole period that was really tough. Wow. And then what I afterwards saw was I was getting in touch with other mothers or families in the same situations. And we were speaking about that and saying that, well, this is bringing us a steep learning curve, and that we're seeing life differently, obviously, and starting living differently. And we were joking a little bit about it, and it's a limit of how smart we need to become and how much we need to learn in life still. But what I really find in those kind of situations is that even though it's really tough, I must say today, and this is 15 years ago, Thea would have been 15 years, and it's the biggest gift I ever got in life. Because it made me turn around, it made me look at life differently, it made me appreciate each moment in life, and that all those things that we take for granted in the everyday, and we're busy and running around, those are the most important moments. Yeah. It's not the big celebrations, it's not Saturdays or Sundays, it's Mondays and Tuesdays that we need to appreciate.
Yeah.
So I really think that having those big sorrows in life, and those people that I meet that have been in tough situations, what I see from all of them is the same thing, and that it gives a potential for growth.
It does, but the thing is, what really strikes me is that you took that realization of it's okay to feel joy even in your darkest days already when you just left the hospital for after 5 days, I mean, I can imagine that afterwards, you know, in retrospect, it's easier to see the lessons. But I think what I really find impressive in your story is that you found the lesson almost instantly and took it. So how did you manage in that first period of time? Because I can imagine it's, well, your world is upside down. How did you feel? How did you manage to, well, to get up every morning?
Well, the first days I probably went into, I've been working in HR for quite a few years, and I was at that point of time working as an HR manager for quite a few people. And I was really trained, and in the oil industry, we're getting drilled in crisis management. So I was quite drilled in it, and even the pastor coming to the hospital, seeing me planning the funeral, he was saying, well, Grete, you need to be in your graving, you need to be in the sorrow, you're already in planning the funeral. Mm-hmm. So probably that was something that made me being able to go through those first days, is that my what I was trained in doing just switched on automatically. Even it was me, I could take myself out and just work through each element in that sense. So that probably helped me the first days. Yeah. And then I must be honest with you, I learned something else when we came home. We had the funeral, and obviously there had been people around us for quite a few days. And the day after the funeral, I had said to my husband, we just need to do something. We need to redo the whole living room, because I need to get myself doing something and get a change in life. Mm-hmm. So, and we had been speaking about it for years, and obviously we hadn't been doing it anymore. So we went off and we were going to buy this fireplace. And they saw that it was important that it was coming in. And a few days later, they were going to come and build it, actually, and set it up. Mm-hmm. And they called me in the morning and they said, unfortunately, we've got another project going on, so we can't make it today. And I think it was kind of one of the first times in my life that I was really down, and that I really understood that this was important for me. Mm-hmm. So I just answered them, you know what, I just lost a daughter 2 weeks ago. You have to come today, because otherwise my world is just going to go in ruin. Oh my goodness. And it was extraordinary, because I really understood what I was saying. So they flipped around with their planning and they came. Oh. And that was really saving for me, because it was kind of the only practical things I could hold on to, kind of thing. And you need something to hold on to in those cases. Yeah. And they came, and I was painting that living room for 3 weeks, and going around painting and just doing something physical is actually an excellent therapy. Yeah. So it was between the tears, lying on the floor, just crying, and back to the painting. It was a tough moment. It was.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I can imagine. I mean, that's so easily said, but I cannot imagine what it's like to go through such a thing like that. But it must be incredibly tough. And
it is tough. And the tough thing is as well that when you get out there, you see that people don't dare to face you. So you recognize people in the street, and you see that they purposely go on the other side of the street because they don't dare to meet you. And that people don't dare to speak. And especially when I was only pregnant, kind of thing, for people. So they were saying that, well, you can have another child. Yeah. You'll be fine. And it's a silent sorrow being in those cases. Because people can't dig into it in the same way as if the child was born alive. But Tia only died 2 days before she was born. But so for me, it doesn't make a difference. And we got these beautiful pictures with her, and she was an absolutely adorable child. Yeah. It was just, and there was nothing abnormal either. So it's still a mystery why it happened, actually. So that was a tough thing as well. And but I really think that it taught me that, and especially that moment when we were standing in the church and we're having the funeral, and just before people were let into the room, we had the coffin in front of us, and we put the cover on the coffin, and that's why I really understood that life is not coming with a repeat button. You really need to live here and now and enjoy what you're having. So in that really tough moment, I took a decision that I need to live my life. I really need to fully live it, and that the meaning of life is to be a human being.
Yeah.
And and the toughest thing you discover that at that point in time is not that we're dying, because everybody will die one day.
Yeah.
But the toughest thing is if you discover that you're dying without having lived fully.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think that's such an important issue that you're addressing here, that it's really, I mean, so many people just exist and Absolutely. They don't live fully. And that's what I really want with this video series, is that people feel the power in them and feel the courage to be starting to live instead of just exist and, well, do your everyday thing. So I think it's really important that you address this here. So yeah.
I think it's really powerful as well, because it shows that, well, if people get to know these stories as you're sharing them, I think that is a great thing, because people need to realize before something that big happens, basically, that they can do the changes. And I've just written a leadership book these days, and my main focus is, one thing is to have that liveness and fun and that joy in the book, in leadership as well, because that taught me that I need to be myself when I'm a leader. Yes, I really learned that we need to bring that joy into the leadership as well. And every day, and especially there's one thing that we're given in life, and that's probably the toughest lesson that people are getting, and that is that we all have the possibility to turn the mirror. And that is what I'm writing about as well in my leadership book, is that we're allowed to turn the mirror. If something doesn't go like we want it to, well, you have to move. Just like if you're playing chess, you have to make a movement, and something will happen. But it all starts with us first. And very often I'm working as a consultant, and when I'm going around in businesses, I see leaders pinpointing on other people and saying, well, they don't work as they should, they don't do this and that. And then I'm coming with a mirror, and that can be quite tough.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where it starts. What can you do differently as a leader or as a human being in life that will make that additional different step? So it's all about seeing life and being the one who's empowered to drive your own life.
Yes. And I think in that sense, we are all leaders. We are all leaders of our own lives, basically. And I think people don't really realize that they are leaders. So I think in that sense, it's not just for leaders as in a target group, but for leaders, the leader in you as a person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're right. And my book is probably for more than just leaders.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I really look forward to reading it, because it must be really interesting to see, well, your angle with your experience on the topic of leadership.
I've included life into it, actually, and it's written in a simple way because it's an ABC of leadership, basically. It's called Leadership Snapshots, because we don't have really time to read either today, but we need to have it to concentrate. So it's really integrating, and it's really integrating life. And as I'm a trained family therapist, obviously I use other words than typically we would use in leadership. So I include body language, I include Zen, I include the family. It's all kind of different ways of seeing it and going into leadership.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
But with keeping the essence in it.
Sorry, with?
and still keeping the essence in leadership.
Yeah, definitely. That's I think that's very true. So lovely. I really can't wait to see your book. So fast forward to now. I mean, you already gave a glimpse of what your life looks like now. How did your transformational moment change you as into the person that you are today?
Well, it's been an extremely long journey. This was 15 years ago, as I said. On my way, I got quite sick and really ill myself. So I had another mirror. I needed two in order to really do something. And well, that was probably the reason why I got divorced. I was single mom raising two kids for 10 years. And with a busy life, I was working as a CEO in a company. So obviously being jungling around with a lot of stuff. My youngest one was 1 year when we got divorced. So it's been a challenge, but I really think that when people see me now and absolutely in the place that I am now, in this I'm living in a just wonderful location. Just in front of me I've got the seashore here. It's an adorable little house, and I've been aware of all these things, coming back to that moment that I was painting that living room. That why should you keep this stuff that you got from this and that person if you don't like it? So I'm really conscious in that sense as well, in how I've got my house and making it a place that you enjoy coming back to, and that makes you comfortable, basically.
Yeah.
And with my husband here, he's a lovely cook, so he makes me food. So that
that's great. He's a keeper.
He's a keeper, exactly. And then with the kids, and they're having they're getting into the oldest one is really into his bigger handball career now and getting famous in that, and on the other side, the little one, she's growing up and getting an adorable little girl, or getting big one, she's a teenager now, so dancing around. So it's really about seeing all those tough moments, but when you have something, when you have a vision of what you want and being clear about, I want something more, you're able to manifest it and get what you really want, because you've made a map actually for yourself.
Oh yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And I think I think many people underestimate the power of being able to create the life that you love. So,
absolutely.
So I fully agree. So if you look at some lessons that you would like to share with our audience, what would you like to share?
Well, first of all, coming back to that Nemo story, you're allowed to be happy even though you're very far down, and keeping that in mind at all stages in life. And don't excuse yourself if you're happy when you're supposed to be in sorrow. It's extremely important. And then the second thing is, go towards people when they're in tough days. The worst thing you can do is leaving. Just go towards them and say, this is tough, I don't know what to say. And just be there. Yeah. And it could be the simplest thing. It could be coming with a dinner or doing just simple stuff. But that helps people going through tough days. And then make out of life what you really want. Envision yourself at the end of your life and saying, what do I really want to experience before we get there?
Oh, I love those 3 lessons. I really do. And I think, it's so important. I mean, all 3 of them are equally important. And I think people forget about the second one because they feel uncomfortable, especially when it's about a topic around death.
They do.
People feel really uncomfortable. They are afraid to be emotional or don't know what to say. So I think it's so important that you shared this, that even if you don't know anything to say, just be there. And,
absolutely.
And just tell people that I don't know what to say, but I want to be here for you. I think that's such a powerful thing. And I really loved what you shared.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it's passionate about in leadership as well, is being there. Yeah. There's something that you can never delegate. either it's in life or at work, and that's your presence. So be there and dare to be a human being. That's important.
Oh, I love that. I think that's a perfect way to conclude this interview. I really would love to leave people with that.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for sharing your story. I will be sharing your social links underneath this interview, so people will be able to reach out, and I will make sure to include the link to your book. So
Perfect.
Of course.
Find me on Amazon.
Yeah, of course. So thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward to hear more from you, and we'll stay in touch, definitely. Thank
Will do. Thank you very much, Nicoline.
Okay, thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.